right here, man, that you play when you feeling down on your isn't right. Play this shit right here and resuscitate your pimping and get you right back on your mission, right? For you hoes, this that shit you play when you ain't feeling like super hoe today. Play this shit right here and to spark up your hoeing and get you right back going, you dig? Dig this. Pimps for real, don't mistake it for fashion. The turf that birthed my reputation for mashing was the track with active, attractive hoes. Professional goers that attract the dough. Like magnets to metal, never settle. We scorching them fag bitches pedal for them portions. My whores win it all. Not the ones on the sideline wishing but didn't ball in the guidelines. My bitches did it all. Down 7 below in the snow for dough. Over 120 in the sun for fun. They mash for hours, hooker baths, not showers. Bright and early, down and dirty for the cash and power. They gotta get the cash, the towers, and reach it all to a pimp. In my position, I'm all but exempt. These bras not wimps, I'm like them renegade bitches. BFFs with tricks but never getting paid riches. Grenade bitches, they dynamite, blowing up on the pimpin' and missing when the time is right. But when they life gets strife, they see pimpin' shining bright, but they action is life without. Bitch, one strike you out. Can't stop, won't stop. Poppin' pimpin', nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Smashing on these bitches, nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Poppin' pimpin', nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Smashing on these bitches, nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Poppin' pimpin', nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Smashing on these bitches, nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Poppin' pimpin', nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Smashing on these bitches, nigga. See, that's the difference, nigga. The pimpin' mashing for these riches, nigga. Nothing like you master magician niggas. Smoking mirrors with your game, hella extras to reflect the opposite appearance of a lame. Bitches coming from y'all, I can't rock with those. Tender-footed and rooted in them doctor shows. Soft shoe rituals, minute residuals. Papers on life support, your loots and critical. Something I learned about with running my earned route and working with turnouts is murdering burnouts. Cause knocking one of you niggas for a scarred bitch, that's knocking one of you niggas for some garbage. I'm heartless regardless, empty with sympathy, but banked up to the max with pimpathy. No remedy for me, I'm like this. My life is vice grip, synced in permanent ink. You can't rewrite this. My blood type is P positive, beautifully deposited with a lot of it. I'm popping this shit, and when I pop it so hard I make a trapping ass bad bitch wanna hoe hard. Can't stop, won't stop. Poppin' pimpin', nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Smashing on these bitches, nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Poppin' pimpin', nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Smashing on these bitches, nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Poppin' pimpin', nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Smashing on these bitches, nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Poppin' pimpin', nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Smashing on these bitches, nigga. Come on, pimpin', man, pop that shit. Show these sucker niggas they can't stop that shit. Let these hookers know if they wanna cop that shit. Treat the bag like it's hot, bitch, and drop that shit. And to you hoes, if you ever took a loss, bitch, show these bitches how to bounce back like a boss, bitch. Let them know that the best way to floss, bitch, is reach that paper to some pimpin' hoe and toss it. Can't stop, won't stop. Poppin' pimpin', nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Smashing on these bitches, nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Poppin' pimpin', nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Smashing on these bitches, nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Poppin' pimpin', nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Smashing on these bitches, nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Poppin' pimpin', nigga, can't stop, won't stop. Smashing on these bitches, nigga. One of them joints right here, man, that you play when you feeling down on your isn't right. Play this shit right here and resuscitate your pimping and get you right back on your mission, right? For you hoes, this that shit you play when you ain't feeling like super hoe today. Play this shit right here and to spark up your hoeing and get you right back going, you dig? Dig this. Pimps for real, don't mistake it for fashion. The turf that birthed my reputation for mashing was the track with active, attractive hoes. Professional goers that attract the dough. Like magnets to metal, never settle. We scorching them fag bitches pedal for them portions. My whores win it all. Not the ones on the sideline wishing but didn't ball in the guidelines. My bitches did it all. Down 7 below in the snow for dough. Over 120 in the sun for Okay. Hey. Excuse my pimping for the delay. Trying to get my technical difficulties in order. Damn. If it ain't one thing, it's another. Bam. Yes. All right. Get my setup right. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and tapping in. Excuse my pimping for the delay. Y'all already know what to do. When you step into a pimp's domain, wipe your feet off at the door. Hit that like button, the thing that looked like that right there. You dig? Yeah. Better late than never. And let me do this right quick. Bam. Bam. Okay. Yeah, man. Let me hydrate my pimping one time. Hydrate my game. Put some of this good love juice in my body. Oh, what a time to be a 304. Yeah. Cheers to the game. Let me see, man. Hold on. Man, is 91 of y'all in here, but only 59 of y'all done wiped your feet off at the door when you stepped into a pimp's domain? Come on, man. Y'all know better than that. That like button while we get ready to get into this game. Tyler, as always, good looking with the $2 holla. Hit the like button. Appreciate you. Palm, good looking with the $2 holla. Have you ever met one of your students' parents? Yeah, I'd have met quite a few of my students' parents, man, and most of the time it's cool. I'm trying to think of a time where it wasn't cool. I can't really recall a time where the parents wasn't cool with me. Especially the mothers. The mothers usually be cool with me. You know, a lot of chicks, fathers don't be in the picture, but I've been cool with a lot of chicks' fathers too, though. More mothers, obviously, than anything, but I've been cool for the most part with different chicks' parents. I can recall a stepfather that didn't really care for me too much. It was this chick that I had. Me and her moms was real cool. And her stepfather, he kind of like tolerated me, but I could tell he really didn't like me though. White man, of course. You know, a white man seeing his stepdaughter that he pretty much raised since she was a little girl. He wasn't her biological father, but he raised her. And, you know, seeing her with a young black man ruffled his feathers quite a bit. but we didn't really have any problems. I could just tell. I knew he didn't like me, and she knew that he didn't like me neither. You know what I mean? And the mama, I'm pretty sure, knew that he didn't like me neither. But the mama loved me though. Me and mom's was real cool. So, but that's really the only time I could think of where a father just did not like me. You know, I done had so many chicks and met so many of their parents, man. I can imagine there's probably some mamas that didn't like me too, but I can't remember any of them. And there's probably some fathers that, some more other than that stepdad I'm talking about, who didn't like me, but I can't remember. Because for the most part, parents usually cool with me. Once again, Palm good looking with the $2 holla. Pick one feature for tape. Currency, Larry June, or Jay Worthy. I don't know. That's tough. Of course, it's probably gonna be Larry June, but I mess with all of them real heavy though. Like all of them keep heavy rotation in my music choice. So probably Larry June, but I would love to do a feature with all of them though. Like gladly all of them. You dig? But yeah, man.
But getting back to this game that I never left.
Did we never left? You know, shout out to all the 304s out there. You know, all the 304s is proud 304s, diligent 304s, mashing, hard going 304s. You dig? The 304s that love to go get it. And the 304s that love having a P in their life, having some guidance in their life, right? Surrendering themselves fully and, you know, following the P's lead to a T. Shout out to y'all. You know, 2025, man, is a beautiful time to be a 304. I believe that right now is the best time ever to be a 304 because there's so much available to 304s. There's so many possibilities that didn't exist for 304s that exist right now in 2025, right? So, yeah, it's never been a better time to be a 304. But with great opportunity and great potential often comes great challenges. And while these are the best times ever to be a 304, on that same token, it's also the most challenging time ever to be a 304, right? So, you know, the greater technology becomes, the more addicted to convenience people become. Because the greater technology becomes, the more convenient everything becomes. And the more convenient things become, the more addicted to convenience people become, the more dependent upon convenience people become. And the more dependent you become upon convenience, the less likely you are to use your brain, the less creative you're going to be, the less diligent you're going to be in most cases. Right? Now, the beautiful thing about technology is that, again, it presents so many possibilities and so many opportunities to make things happen. Right? But in order to make these things happen most effectively, you're going to have to be ambitious. You're going to have to go hard. You're going to have to be consistent. You're going to have to be hungry. You're going to have that desire to get up and go get it consistently every day, right? But again, like I say, you know, the more convenient things become, the less likely you are to use your mind and be ambitious, because a lot of things are done for you, and a lot of things that are done for you shouldn't be done for you, right? But like I've talked about before, it's been a while since I spoke on this, but for those of y'all who've been with me for a while or who went back and watched certain older videos of mine can recall. But, like I tell y'all all the time, some of you see me as a teacher and you learn certain things from me, and I'm glad that you can learn from me. But my main goal is not to teach you. It's not necessarily to educate you, right? Because there are a lot of other people that can educate you on the internet better than I can, right? It's a lot of other people that can give you information and deliver it to you better than I can. But one thing that I know that there's an extreme shortage of still, even with the abundance of people kicking whatever they kicking to you on the internet, one thing that a lot of people are not kicking to you is inspiration. So that's my main mission. My main mission is to inspire you, to give you what you can't really find in abundance on YouTube or social media, period, which is inspiration, right? Inspiration is a call to action, something that makes you get up and put things in motion. And what happens on the internet often is, a lot of you get excited by the things that you learn from the internet. And a lot of the stuff that you learn on the internet is great stuff, good information, right? You can learn and pick up information, pick up game in whatever subject or whatever area you want to pick up game in. There's somebody that is well versed on the internet that can give you a whole bunch of information, a whole bunch of game about whatever, right? From, real estate to being a 304. It's a whole bunch of game on this internet about it, right? But like I said, one thing there isn't an abundance of is inspiration. And inspiration is what you're more in dire need of than anything, right? Because in a lot of cases, inspiration can take you further than game can, right? Now, ultimately, ideally, you want to be banked up on game and information because, game and inspiration, excuse me, because when you have necessary to do what it is that you want to do and you have the inspiration to fuel it, then, you're pretty much unstoppable. It's nothing that you can't do, right? You can do whatever you put your mind to it and get serious enough about, right? But like I said, the problem is there's an abundance of information, an abundance of game, but there's a shortage of inspiration, right? So that's what I come in for. I come here to inspire you. And see, what you got to keep in mind and got to understand is that the way that the world is set up now, it's designed for you to not really be inspired like that. Social media, regular media, the news, entertainment, everything you could think of, everything is being pushed at you, right? We get exposed to tens of thousands of messages every day. Every day there's tens of thousands of messages being pushed to you. If you ride the bus or the train, there's TVs on the bus and the train that's shooting commercials and a whole bunch of different information at you. If you drive, when you go to the gas station to pump your gas, it's TVs at the gas pump shooting you a whole bunch of more different information. If you got apps on your phone, if you don't have the premium version, the paid version, everything you do on your app, whether it's editing pictures, editing videos, editing, documents or whatever it is, there's, 30-second to 60-second commercials being pumped at you. When you on social media scrolling, it's a commercial everywhere. Watching this, there's commercials, which is why I don't set my videos to be monetized until after my lives are over with, right? So that in real time, you don't get interrupted. But if I have my monetization turned on right now, you'd be getting interrupted by commercials right now, right? So there's so much information being shoved down your throat, even information that you don't care for, being shoved down your throat all the time. But like I said, one thing that's not being shoved down your throat is inspiration, right? But like I said, also, with all of these things being shoved down your throat, it is all by design to not inspire you, at least not inspire you to do anything great. It might motivate you to do certain things, especially motivate you to purchase whatever is being advertised on these commercials and, these different messages shoved down your throat. It might motivate you to go buy this item or, purchase this service or, go to this event and pay to get in and all of these different things, right? But it's not really inspiring you to be a great individual. It's not inspiring you to be the best version of yourself. So this is what you got to understand when you seeking all this information on the internet, because I know how a lot of you are. A lot of you just are so excited about soaking up game that you just constantly soaking up game. And some of you have gotten so into soaking up game on the internet that you've been doing it for years and you ain't putting none of this game to the test. You're not putting none of this game to action, right? Some of you ain't never caught a date before. Some of you ladies ain't never caught a date before. But you can, listen to myself and Sinful to P and probably other, different ladies like Martina, Hustle Mom Martina, and other different ladies in the game. And, by listening to all these people from the game, you ain't caught a date never in your life, but you could tell, you could say so much, so much about the game that you ain't never partook in, right? It could be the same thing when it comes to, doing nails or doing hair or, starting a business, creating an LLC. Everybody want to create a damn LLC nowadays. A lot of y'all got LLCs that you ain't doing nothing with. They collecting dust right now because you don't have any inspiration. You got the information to do it. You went online and you learned how to do a certain trade or something like that. And, you figured out how to create an LLC for yourself, and everything it is to know about getting it done, but for some reason you ain't taking action. And there's nothing in your way. There's nothing holding you back. But for some reason you just ain't moving. Right? And guess what you doing while you ain't moving? You on the phone looking at shit every day. Picking up new information, but you got enough information to make a move. You're just not inspired to. You don't have the inspiration. So, it's like having a pretty car with no fuel on an empty gas tank. It's like having a Porsche, a Ferrari or something like that with no gas in it. The gas is the inspiration. And a lot of y'all got, beautiful vehicles with no fuel in it. So, this all pertains to what we talking about tonight, which is being a 304, right? A lot of you who might be watching now and might catch this on the replay are active in the game, young ladies, right? But you feeding yourself the wrong company. You feeding yourself a lot of the wrong information, a lot of misinformation, and within all of that, you feeding yourself a whole lot of bad habits. And, at the same time, you don't have the inspiration that you need in order to be great. And once again, just like I talked about with everything else, the way that things are set up right now in the game, again, the opportunity is there. The availability of greatness to you is abundant. It's a buffet of greatness available to you, but you're not eating because all this other stuff tastes so good to you, and you so busy stuffing yourself with a sucker ass nigga. You so busy stuffing yourself with these punk ass renegade broads who don't mean you no good. You so busy stuffing yourself with tricks that you want to be in a relationship with, and you trusting, and you telling this trick all your business, and you so comfortable and personal with them. You feeding yourself all this stuff, all the drugs, all the alcohol, all the pills, all the powder, all of that, all the weed, them big fat ass backwoods like this, smoking it by yourself and then passing out when you supposed to be handling your business. You feeding yourself all of this stuff. And what you don't understand is all of these things are just distractions that stand between you and your greatness. You have the greatest version of yourself right here. It's within arm's reach. The greatest version of yourself is right here. But you wrapped up with all these suckers and busters and punk ass broads and tricks who, want a whole lot for a whole little. And you giving them a whole lot because you like the attention. You like the attention so much you ain't even focused on the money. And you're not focused on the money again because you're not inspired to be the greatest version of yourself. So all of this shit stands between you and the greatest version of yourself, which is in arm's reach. The strip club that you go to, it's a bunch of chicks in there that are losers and want you to be losers with them. And, they don't even really go to the strip club to make money. If they make a few dollars in there, then that's cool. But they really go there because whatever drugs they like is there. The powder that they like is there. The pills that they like is there. The perks, the alcohol, the weed, whatever it is that they like that makes them feel good is at that club. And the money is secondary. But they not really bothered if they don't make no money as long as they could get high or drunk or whatever it is, right? Same thing with the blade. That blade that you go to all the time and see the same punk ass bras that, they pushing Douce in your face, and they pushing Hennessy in your face, and they pushing Casamigos in your face, and they pushing perks and pills and all this shit in your face and powder and all of that. All of that is standing between you and the greatest version of yourself. It's right here. All you got to do is and grab a hold of her and, pull her to you and internalize her and be her. The greatest version of yourself. She's right here. But you letting all this shit stand in front of you, in between you and that. That sucker ass dude that you think is so fine. He got all the tattoos and, little cut up body, and, he handsome, or, if you like waves, he got waves. If you like dreads, he got dreads. If you like gold teeth, he got gold teeth. He got everything you need except for some game and some guidance, right? He's not a bridge between you and the greatest version of yourself, which is what the pimping is. If you had some pimping in your life, he would be the bridge that you go across to get to your greatest version of yourself. But what is he? He's a pit. He's a ditch that stands between you and the greatest version of yourself. And as much of a ditch as he is, he feel good to you. He make you feel good. He gonna rock your world in the bedroom. He gonna pop whatever pills y'all like to pop together, and, do whatever drugs y'all like to do together, and he gonna make you feel great. But he's in the way of you getting to the greatest version of yourself, right? And what you don't understand is from the moment you decide to get in the game in today's times, from the moment you decide to be active in the game, all of that is by design. It's by design for you to choose a sucker ass dude in the game. It's by design for you to get cool with a bunch of punk ass failure ass broads. It's by design for you to surround yourself with a bunch of losers and be like these losers and become one of these losers. It's not by accident. It's by design. So you have to make a decision to allow the ism to be the architect of your greatness. When you gonna make that decision, right? And see, what also is within this design is a blindness. There's a blindness that comes with this design. When you hanging with that sucker ass dude and these punk ass bras and these, these weird ass tricks that ain't even, they're not even high caliber tricks. Everything is low class, low budget, dusty, all of that. There's a blindness that comes with that. And that blindness it'll block your vision from seeing the possibilities in the game. This is why you want to choose a scammer, because you don't think that you can hoe up for anything big. You don't think your hoeing is capable of accomplishing big shit, right? You don't even know the history of the game, let alone the possibilities. Because if you knew about certain things that 304s was doing 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago with less opportunity and less potential, if you understood the great things that they were doing back then and put that together with the possibilities of today, you would understand that I don't need to choose a scammer. I don't need to choose a dope boy. I don't need to choose a robber or a flocker or none of that, because my hoeing is more than enough to do whatever it is that I want to do. But like I said, when you kick it with all these losers and you have conversations with losers, and then you see losers on Instagram going live talking about the game and talking about what you can't do in the game and talking about, how everybody in the game is all bad. All the dudes that you tune into that's supposed to be some pimping, they complaining about the broads. And all the broads that you tuning into that's supposed to be some 304s, they complaining about the pimping. Everybody complaining about each other. You ain't hearing, again, no inspirational people getting on there chopping it up about how great the game is, right? And you know why? Is because those people are too busy being great, right? And you're not even going to have access to them because you don't have the energy that will attract them to you and attract you to them, right? The people that you should be feeding yourself, the company that you should be feeding yourself, right? So, again, when you kicking it with all these losers in the game and you feeding yourself a bunch of messages from losers in the game, it'll have you to think that, you can't hoe up for such great things. So you don't even know that right now is the greatest time to be a 304. But as we say, as we've been saying, to whom much is given, much is required. So you're given an abundance of opportunity, an abundance of potential. But what's required of you to maximize and realize this potential and these possibilities, what's required of you is everything. You got to make up your mind. You got to make up your mind that you're not going to be mastered by a sucker ass dude. He's the master of you and you serving him and he not serving you at all. You got to make up your mind that you not going to be mastered by these punk ass renegade or, wannabe 304 ass broads. You got to make up your mind that they not going to be your master. And you're not going to be serving them and they not serving you at the same time. You got to make up your mind that you're not going to be mastered by drugs and alcohol. You serving them, but they not serving you at all. You got to make up your mind. This shit ain't for the weak-hearted. It's not for the simple-minded. It's for somebody that's serious. But the moment you get serious, in the moment you make up your mind that you gonna cross that bridge being the pimping, you gonna cross that bridge to the greatest version of yourself. The moment that you make up your mind that you gonna do that and you're not gonna let these distractions that come in the forms of different people keep you off track. The moment you make that decision, nothing will stop you. There's nothing in your way. it's becoming easier and easier, even though it's never going to be easy, so to speak, but it's becoming more and more possible to be great in the game. The possibilities of greatness have never been what they are now, right? And see, what you got to understand is what inspiration does, right? Because you hear all of these stories about what people did in the game in times past, right? And not just the game, but just life, period. You hear all these stories about, Michael Jordan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Magic Johnson, Kobe Bryant. You hear all of these stories about those people from back then. Boxing, you hear all these stories about Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Muhammad Ali, Joe Louis, George Foreman, rest in peace. You hear all these stories about all of these great boxers from back in the day. Baseball, you hear all these stories about Jackie Robinson and Hank Aaron and, Barry Bonds and, all these different people, you name it, whatever genre you could think of, whether it's business, sports, entertainment, you name it. You hear all of these great stories about what they were doing back in the day, right? And you think to yourself like, damn, how was they able to do this and do that? And they didn't even have the technology that we have today. They didn't have social media and they didn't have the internet to do this and do that for them, but yet and still they just produced so much greatness back then. The difference is it was more so dependent upon them than the resources, right? The greatness produced back then was 80 to 90% the individual and 10 to 20% the resource, right? They didn't have nearly as many resources as we have today, but they had way more inspiration than we have today. That's why you have a Divine Brown hitting $1 million licks, breaking on movie stars in Hollywood off the blade. Why everybody want to talk shit about the blade? You can't do this on the blade and you can't do that on the blade and the blade ain't this and the blade ain't that. Some of the biggest licks historically that you can think of or name or talk about in the game took place with a bitch jumping inside a car off the boulevard with a trick. Yeah. And she had a whole bunch of game and a whole bunch of inspiration. She had that bridge that was the ism. You don't hear about renegades doing no hell of a shit back in the day. But you hear about real 304s messing with some ism, doing great shit back in the day because they had that inspiration, right? They might not have had all the resources that we have today, but who needs that when you got inspiration, right? So if you can just reach inside yourself and pull that inspiration out of yourself and choose some ism to help you pull that inspiration out of yourself, and you got all these resources, because today it's the opposite. How many people on YouTube right now that's not really that great? You got people on YouTube this stutter. They presentation ain't shit. They get on the internet looking like whatever. This is the new TV. This is like television. You know what I mean? YouTube is the new NBC, the new Fox, the new CBS, the new WB. This is YouTube. That's what it is. This is like television. This shit right here is the new Johnny Carson, the new Arsenio Hall, the new Jay Leno. That's what this shit is. Right? But how many people that get on here this, get on camera looking dusty. They background be messy and dirty. They ain't shaved. They ain't did nothing with their hair. They not well groomed. Just dusty as hell. You know what I mean? Stains on their clothes, stuttering, just all kind. Don't speak good. Don't use words in the right context, just, aren't very articulate, but they get millions of views. They got hundreds of thousands, some of them millions of subscribers. That's what lets you know that in today's times, it's like 30% inspiration, 70% resource. The resources are so strong that even a goofball, even a bozo, even a clown can utilize these resources and appear to be great. Right? And it's the same thing with the game. Like, it's certain chicks in the game that, if you an active young lady in the game, you should know what I'm talking about. Right? You see certain chicks and you tell yourself like, damn, she ain't as pretty as me. She ain't as classy as me. She's not as well put together as me, but she made way more money than me. Why is that? How is that? Inspiration. Right? All it takes is a little bit of inspiration to appear to be good. And if you got a lot of inspiration, that's going to make you great. Right? But this is what's going on. You got certain chicks that don't even really have no whole bunch of game. They might even be messing with some pimping that's gamed up. But, they not even really soaking up and receiving all of the game. They probably only receiving like 20% of the game that he got to give. Because they receptiveness and comprehension to the game ain't all the way there. But the inspiration is there, though. They might not be receiving all of his game, but they receiving all the inspiration that he giving her. And she taking that inspiration and doing great things with it. Right? We all know people like that in the game, too. So, again, this is the greatest time to be a 304. It really is. Like, there's never been a greater time to be a 304. There's never been a time where tricks have as much money to spend as they do now. Tricks on the blade, tricks calling and texting you off of ads, tricks in your DM, tricks in your inbox, tricks at the strip club, tricks in the casino, you name it. All of them have much more money to spend on you than ever. You just don't have the inspiration that it's going to take to break on these individuals. You cool with donations. You cool with receiving whatever they feel like giving you. You're not serious about breaking on a trick. There's a difference between, receiving something from a trick and breaking on a trick. Some of y'all, you'll let a trick give you $500, and it'll be some instances where a trick will sit up there and show a chick how much money he got, and she'll just be glad to get a portion of that. Right? She's not inclined. She's not inspired to see that full bankroll and be like, I'm gonna break his ass for that. He got to give me all of that. He owe me all of that. Y'all be comfortable just receiving kibbles and bits. You'll let a trick show you 20,000 and give you 3,000, and you cool with that. You'll sit next to him at the table in a casino and watch him win tens of thousands of dollars, and give you a couple thousand, and you cool with that. Some of y'all don't even get a couple thousand. He'll give you 500, and you cool with that. You don't understand your value. And, that's another thing. Like we talked about not too long ago. And like we talk about often, understanding your value. Because you don't understand your value and you're not inspired to be inclined enough, you don't have the self-esteem that makes you believe and know that this trick owe you whatever he got available, whatever's in his possession. He owe you that. But you don't believe that. A lot of y'all, you ain't gonna tell nobody that, but your language, the way that you speak, and the way that you behave lets it be known that you feel lucky. You feel lucky whenever a trick give you some money. You feel like he doing you a favor. Right? Because you don't understand your value. You don't even see the right thing when you look in the mirror. Right? You don't even understand the potential of your mind. You don't understand the potential of your emotions. How, when you get your emotions in check and channel them the right way, how powerful they make you. You don't understand none of that. So because you don't understand none of that, you feel lucky if a trick give you anything. Right? That's why you can sit back and open your mouth and ask a trick for $50. Ask a trick for $60. Ask a trick for $100. That's why you have no problem doing that. Because you feel lucky if he gives you anything. You don't understand what you're capable of. And you don't understand the potential. You don't understand how great it is of a time to be a 304 right now in 2025. It's 162 of y'all up in here, but only 43 of y'all done wiped your feet off at the door. Do a pimp a favor. Wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Hit that like button. Hydrate my game one more time. Tony Crossroads, good looking with the $2 holla. Your sound is going in and out, Freeze. I don't know why that is. It seems like everything is good on my end. Yeah, yet another person, the Lauren Love Dolly. You're yet another individual letting me know that individual been stealing from a pimp. It's all good though, you know. We know who the originator is. That's all that matter. Okay, 50 floors up. You say it's good now. It's working now. Okay, cool. Y'all saying I'm good now. Cool. Excuse my pimping and excuse my technology for that. yeah. Again, there's never been a greater time to be a 304. You know, again, the tricks. That's one of the biggest obstacles that a 304 is faced with in today's times is, you know, not believing in themselves enough and having more faith in a trick's words than they do in themselves and in their abilities. A lot of females in the game right now, their actions are dictated more so by what a trick tells them than what they believe about themselves and what they believe about the game and what they're supposed to believe about the individual that's leading them. They put a lot more faith in what a trick is telling them, right? And a big part of the reason why you have so many chicks putting a lot of faith in what a trick is telling them is because of ignorance. If you just understood, if you just knew, right? Now, I know that, you know, for a lot of people, times are hard. You know, if you just think about it from a Square's perspective, the prices for everything are higher than they've ever been. You know, the prices for food, the prices for gas, you know, rent, real estate, mortgages, just everything. You know, the prices for a lot of stuff is higher than it's ever been. But don't let that fool you. Don't let that fool you into believing that, you know, tricks don't have it. Because on that same token, we have more, and I've said this before, I'm saying it again. We have more millionaires and billionaires now than we've ever had. Right? You know, like I said, back in the days when people in the game were doing all these amazing things and checking all of this money, you know, the number of millionaires and billionaires was only a fraction of what it is today. Right? And you have to understand that, you know, even in a so-called recession or whatever the case may be, there's always somebody doing good. There's never a situation in America, in this capitalist society, where business is being conducted every day. There's never a situation where everybody is just broke and everybody just ain't got it. It may be that situation for the majority, but you got to understand there's always somebody who got it good. And with that being said, once again, we have more millionaires and billionaires in America and in the world, period, than ever. Right? Back in the days when they was doing all this amazing stuff, you know, the number of billionaires was probably in the hundreds. Now the number of billionaires is in the thousands. Right? There's thousands of billionaires in the world. But there's not as many great and legendary things being done in the game as it was before. Right? Inspiration. You got to have that inspiration. If you just do a little bit of research on economics and just, you know, research certain statistics about our economy, you know, and, you know, the type of money that people have, it'll let you know. Damn, I've been tripping. I can't believe I've been selling myself so short. I can't believe I didn't see this and wake up before. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up for real, because it's out there. It's for you to have. It's yours. It's a bankroll out there with your name on it. You just got to go claim it. But it's not as simple as just, you know, saying I'm going to claim it and then just doing it. You got to be inspired. You got to have that inspiration. You got to have that fire and desire to go get it. And you got to understand your value. You got to understand what makes you valuable, what makes you important, what makes you an asset, what makes you a commodity, what makes you a gotta have it. You know, like I said before, you know, at Cold Stone Creamery, the ice cream shop, they got the different sizes. They got the like it, love it, gotta have it. You the gotta have it. You gotta know that you the gotta have it. To a trick, it's not just like it or love it. To the trick, it's a gotta have it. So the trick gotta have you, but you on the other end of the situation, when it come to his bankroll, you just like it. You know, when it come to getting money from a trick, you just like it. You don't even love it, let alone gotta have it. When it come to you, when it come to him tricking on you, he gotta have it. But you just like it. You got to figure out how to gotta have it. You know, that's the only way you're going to get it is when you gotta have it. Right now, you just like it. You know, but it's too many other things that you gotta have it that's hindering you from breaking on tricks to where you just like it when it comes to breaking on a trick. You know? And then a lot of y'all, to be honest with you, like I say all the time, see, I view the game like a professional league, like the NBA or the NFL or the Major League Baseball. You know, that's how I view the game. And to be honest with you, a lot of people don't deserve, a lot of people that are in the game right now, they don't deserve to perform on a professional level. They don't even deserve to be in the league. They don't deserve to be in the game. You know? It's a lot of people that's the square world's rejects. And they just taking up space in the game. You know, but see, even that don't stand in the way of a 304 that got her mind made up. She's inspired and she understands her value and she got the game and the guidance coming from the pimping. The abundance of people in the game, they don't even stand in your way. They're not even competition. Right? Because we all in the same game, but if you a 304 who understands your value and you're inspired and you being laced and guided, gamed up and guided by the pimping, you know, you don't have anybody in your way. You don't have any competition because all them chicks this flooding the game, this the square world's rejects, they down here. They looking for the low-hanging fruit. They like this. Hey, baby, you want a date? Hey, oh, that'll be $50. Or, oh, I can do that for $80. You know, they down there. But when you a 304 that's inspired and got a high self-esteem and you being gamed up and guided by the ism, you up here with it. You can't even see what's going on down here. That don't even really exist to you because it's not even within your vision. It's not within your view. You up here, you know what I mean, going after the high caliber clientele. You know, these people down here, they got their fingers crossed to get lucky and get whatever they get from somebody. But you up here looking to break on these people up here. That big fish right there, that big fish right there, that big fish right there, you looking to break on them. Right? So again, you have nothing in your way. But also again, this is the type of stuff that's not encouraged. There's nothing in the game that encourages this. There's nobody around you that encourages this. You got to put the right people around you to encourage this. You know, choose the right household where you got the kind of wifeys where y'all inspire each other. Y'all keep each other's self-esteem up, right? Y'all want the best for each other. You know, don't choose a household where you got them kind of wifeys that's like, you know, they think small and they jealous and they want the pimping all to they self and all. Hell no. You know, But then sometimes you might have them type of situations where you got some hell of a pimping and he just so happened to have somebody like that in his household. But don't worry. Them type of people don't last long. You know, the game is going to separate the game from the lame. Right? But, you know, it's a beautiful thing when you're a part of a household where there's no jealousy and everybody is thinking so big that there's not even any room in the equation for jealousy. And, you know, you want the best for your wifeys want the best for you. Y'all want the best for your folks want the best for y'all. Everybody in the situation wants the best for each other, and it's reflected in everybody's behavior, and it's reflected in everybody's actions and everybody's language, and everything is just made clear. Right? And these type of situations exist. But see, like I said, when you got all of those things standing between you and the greatest version of yourself, you're going to miss all of that. See, there's not a whole lot of high caliber pimping out there. And on that same token, it's not a whole lot of high caliber 304ing out there. Right? How they say it's lonely at the top and it's crowded at the bottom. See, down here, everybody smoke, everybody drink, everybody dope fiends, everybody dusty, you know, everybody settling, and it's crowded down there. Everybody, you know, doing a bunch of low-level scumbag buster shit down here. You know what I mean? But up here, you know, at the top where it's less crowded, people healthy. They taking care of themselves. They not putting a whole lot of poison in their bodies. You know, they the master of themselves. They not being mastered by drugs, alcohol, sensations, tobacco, social media, you know, anything on the internet. They not being mastered by any of that up here. They the master of themselves. And, you know, up here, everybody's great. You know, everybody's chasing greatness on a daily basis, constantly. And they're all great individually. They're all great independently. And they come together to create a type of greatness that none of them could create individually. They all create greatness individually, but when they come together, the level of greatness that they create is something that no individual anywhere can create. Right? So, you know, that's a part of what comes with that inspiration. When you get inspired, you think big, and you understand that the greatest things that you want to accomplish in the game, nobody does it alone. So you understand that you got to surround yourself with other great individuals, right? Who are compatible with you and you compatible with them. You're going to think bigger than just yourself, because anything that any goal or whatever you think is great that you want to accomplish by yourself, if you can accomplish it by yourself, then you ain't thinking big enough. If whatever you thinking that you want to do, if you could do it by yourself, it ain't really that great. It's not that special. It's not that big. Because any real, true, great thing that you want to accomplish and be a part of, you're going to have to do it with other great people. Right? So again, it's never been a better time to be a 304. But you're going to have to be inspired. You're going to have your self-esteem intact. And you're going to have to understand that you can't do it alone. Right? And, you know, anything that you could think of that you're doing alone, you're thinking small, right? If you're the only one who can benefit from your greatness, then how great is it really, right? If you got kids, if your kids can't benefit from your greatness, if you popping on social media and you getting money, being a 304, or you got OnlyFans, or you a stripper, or you host parties, or whatever it is that you do, if your kids can't benefit from that, then how great is it really? If you don't have kids, if you have parents that could use your help, or grandparents, or, different family members, if they can't benefit from your greatness, then how great is it really? Right? When you got true greatness going on, that's a part of why you accomplish the great things that you do, so that not only yourself, but the people that you love and the people around you can benefit from your greatness. That's when and it don't hurt you. That's when it's true greatness going on, right? A lot of these people that you admire, that you think is doing something big, because you think so small, you think that what they doing is big. But what you don't understand is, don't nobody even benefit from their greatness. So it's not really that great. You got to think bigger. You got to think so big that it's scary, that you can't even understand right now how you're going to make it happen. You just know that you're going to make it happen. That kind of big. You got to be thinking big. You dig? So once again, man, I can't say it enough. It's never, ever been a greater time to be a 304. Oh, what a time it is to be a 304. It's a great time, man. For real. We're going to end up wrapping this thing up in just a minute, man, but I really would love y'all to at least get the likes to 200. There's 217 of y'all up in here, but only 168 of y'all done wiped your feet off at the door. Do a pimp a favor. Wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Hit that like button. That thing that look like that there. Luster says, elaborate, study, in what regard? I'm trying to get to the root of what Luster is talking about. Okay, Luster says, Freeze, you got any game on gaining intel on cliente, I guess you're saying? Clientele? Not a lace question. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about, right? This is the killer of inspiration. Now it's okay to get on here and ask questions. That's beautiful, right? And I gladly answer certain questions pertaining to the game, right? Because I don't have the mindset of the game is to be sold, not told, and all of that. I don't think like that, because some of the greatest game that I received, nobody sold it to me. I ain't never purchased game via a monetary price. Now I paid the price through blood, sweat, tears, and years as far as, gaining game. But, like I say, the greatest game that I've gotten, I didn't pay that kind of price. But why I say this type of stuff is the killer of inspiration is because, you're asking me on how to gain intel. But see, by you asking me how to gain intel on a client, that's another way of saying I don't know how to gain intel on a client. And when you say I don't know how to, that's another way of saying I don't want to. Right? Whenever you say, or whenever you acknowledge or admit that you don't know how to do something, you're pretty much saying that you don't want to do that something. Right? Because when you have the want to, the how to will inevitably present itself. There's no way that you have the want to without the how to. Right? You may start off with the want to without the how to, but as you intensify the want to, the how to is going to naturally come. Right? A lot of the things that I know, I taught myself. I figured it out myself because I wanted to. Right? So, that's one of the biggest killers of inspiration right there is, asking certain questions that you really can figure out the answer to yourself. Right? You can figure these answers out yourself. Now, again, there's certain questions that you can ask me that you can't get the answers to in different places and stuff like that. And you might not be able to just necessarily figure it out yourself. But when it comes to a lot of things, a lot of you can figure it out on your own. But you have the luxury of the internet. You can ask me. If you don't ask me, you can ask Dre. If you don't ask Dre, you can comb through the infinite library of Sinful to P and find the answer there. And if you don't find the answer there, you can just ask Google. And Google will answer a lot of your questions. But, that kills your inspiration. Because certain questions that you ask, again, is another way of saying I don't know how to. And I don't know how to is another way of saying I don't want to. Right? So if you ask me a question and I translate that question into you don't want to, then that's your answer. That's the only answer you're going to get from me. You don't want to. So I'm not going to answer a question to something that you really don't want to do. You did. Dimples, good looking with the $10 holla. What is a 304 supposed to do when she can't find the right P to guide her in the right direction? Especially when she get her own everything, been in the game for a long time. She has her own everything. What is it that you want beyond that though? Because, see that hunger for more is what's going to help you make better decisions, right? When you serious about what you want and you're serious about what you have as well, right? That helps you to make better decisions. Like me, of course, my P don't stand for perfect, but because I'm so serious about what I want and what I have, I value what I have within myself as an individual, not what I have as far as materials and possessions that I could pick up like this. I'm talking about what I have as far as myself as a man and as a P, right? I value that so much, and I'm so serious about that, and I'm so serious about the things that I don't have that I want. That helps me when I consider all of that. When I keep that in mind, when I make decisions, that helps me make better decisions, right? Because it makes me take inventory of people in a better way, because it's like, okay, I know that I want this. So because I want this, I need somebody who can, this is what it's going to take for me to get this. I'm going to need to do this. I'm going to need to do that. I'm going to need to be empowered in this way. I'm going to have to be able to move this way. Okay, so because I know what it takes for me to do all of that, I'm going to have somebody that's going to empower me to be able to do these things, right? You know, that's just like if you know that you want to get in shape and you know that that you're gonna need a personal trainer, you're not gonna hire a personal trainer that if you go to their social media, they always eating pizza and burgers and they out of shape and the little bit of working out that you see them doing is not very convincing, but they a certified personal trainer. They got the credentials, they have the certificates, but when you look at their behavior, they don't really look very effective, right? You're going to get the person that, when you look at them, it's obvious that they take care of themselves a certain way, right? And then when you look at the way that they eat, it's confirmation of what you see. And then when you see the way that they work out, it's further confirmation of what you see when you look at them. Okay, the way that they work out and the way that they eat and the way that they take care of their body, I understand why they look the way that they look, right? And they got the certificates and the credentials to back it up, right? So on the same token with the pimping, when you serious about what it is that you want, you're going to know what to look for. You want to look for somebody that's the master of themselves. They not mastered by lean. They not mastered by cigarettes. They not mastered by drugs and alcohol and all of this different type of stuff, right? They not mastered by their phone. They the master of themselves. The things that they utilize serve them. It's not a situation where they serving everything and everything that they serve ain't serving them. No, they the master of themselves, right? And this is another problem that a lot of chicks have when it come to choosing a P. A lot of y'all want to choose a good circumstance, right? But it's a lot of different kinds of people with good circumstances or circumstances that appear to be good. The circumstance ain't even really got to be good. A lot of chicks, and I'm not saying you in particular, Dimples, but I'm just saying this is something that's common in the game, right? A lot of chicks choose circumstances that appear to be good, right? Meaning if a P got, several different ladies that's down for him and, they look like they all got their stuff together and, they got all the material stuff, the luxury stuff, the foreign vehicles, the nice house, designer shit, everything looks good, right? But if you don't know what to look for, then all of that type of stuff will distract you from seeing what's most important, right? And a lot of people are good at hiding what's most important, which is identifying whether or not these people are the master of themselves. And, they might have a good looking situation going on, but it may not have came from pimping and hoeing, right? It may have came from, him or them all having, other stuff going on and masking it as pimping and hoeing, right? But it might not be a lot of game involved. It just looked good. And they putting the brand of pimping and hoeing on it. But they not pimping and hoeing for it, right? So, you want somebody, again, that's the master of themselves because that somebody who's the master of themselves can be an asset to you. You don't want to deal with somebody who you having a tug of war with the drugs or you having a tug of war with the alcohol and all these different things for the greatness of that individual. They master by these things, but you trying to get the master of themselves out of that individual, but you can't even get to it because they master by all these different things, right? So again, you're going to be able to better identify what you want out of somebody when you know what you want from yourself and what you willing to give of yourself, you know, because it's just like when you have money, you understand the value of money and the power of money, right? So you not, when you go to buy something, you're not going to spend it on bullshit, even if it's a gallon of milk. You're not going to go buy some expired milk that expired yesterday, let alone 5 days ago or anything like that. You're going to get some milk that don't expire far out enough so that you can consume it and do what you want to do with it, right? That's a gallon of milk. Now, if you didn't understand the value of money, you know, or the value of yourself and your body, you wouldn't even pay attention to shit like, and you have people out there like that that'll buy some spoiled milk, don't look at the expiration date, get home, crack the shit open and smell it and look at it and it's all lumpy and shit and be like, damn, I didn't even know I didn't even know I got some. And then they look at the expiration date, it expired last week and they like, damn, you know, that's somebody who don't understand value and they're not intentional about the value of the money, the value of their time, because they wasted time doing that. You know, they not keeping their value in mind with something as simple as that. Right. So on the same token, you got a lot of chicks who don't value their time, don't value their bodies, don't value their mind. So they make a bunch of irrational, foolish decisions. Right. But on the same token, the chick who does value her time, who does value her mind, who does value her emotional well-being, who does value her body, you know, she's going to keep those things in mind when she make decisions. And that's going to help her make the best decisions. You dig? That's going to help you look past circumstances that appear to be good and see the man in the circumstance. Right? You're going to look past all of that because a lot of that stuff is distractions. Right? A lot of them dudes that got good circumstances, they don't even really have they self-esteem intact. A lot of them, their sense of self-worth, their sense of self-importance is dependent upon their circumstance. And if they lose their circumstance, they lose their self-esteem goes right with it, which was never real self-esteem in the first place. Right? And, you know, you can tell the difference by what's important. What's most important to the individual, because you might have two different people that call themselves the pimping and they might have similar circumstances. You know, both of them got nice cars. Both of them got nice looking women, well put together. Both of them have nice places to live. Both of them, you know, their circumstances look very similar. But when you listen to them talk, when you see them express their thoughts, it lets you know what's most important to them. You know, one of them might talk about, you know, how much money they got or how much money they spent on this. This one over here always talking about how much money he spent, right? With this one over here, he always talking about his personal health, his personal well-being, the people that he loves, who's important to him, and how he's being a blessing to them. You know what I mean? So it'll give you a good idea. You just got to pay attention. But a lot of times, you know, people get distracted by the circumstance and don't look past the circumstance to see the man in the circumstance and really pay attention. But when you don't know what to look for, you'll look right over it. Right? Right. I see that all the time. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know, but again, like I said, you know, everything is by design. The way that everything is designed right now is for people to make bad decisions, not be inspired, not aspire to anything great, and just be average, barely getting by, That's what's encouraged by everything that's put around us, by everything that's shoved in our face. It's encouraged for you to be average. It's encouraged for you to be mediocre. It's encouraged for you to be confused and have all these mental issues and doom yourself, right? Greatness is not encouraged in today's times by, the masses of things that's presented to you every day. That stuff don't encourage you to be great. In the words of Sinful to P, you gotta encourage yourself. You dig? But we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing on up in just a second. I'm going to hydrate my game one more time. I appreciate y'all for getting the likes above that 200. Go ahead and hydrate my game one more time. But yet and still, I'm sure some of y'all that stepped off into a pimp's domain and didn't wipe your feet off at the door. Do a pimp a favor. Wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Hit that like button. Yes. As always, I appreciate y'all for tuning in and tapping in with a pimp. I appreciate all the shares, comments, questions, input, feedback, jokes, all that good stuff. I appreciate you subscribing. I appreciate you hitting the bell when you subscribe. I appreciate all the super chats, the cash apps, the PayPals. I appreciate your support in every which way that you comes with it, man. Y'all already know who it is and what it is. Freezes it. If you out in traffic moving around, please do so in a safe fashion. And of course, as always, long live the incomparable Sinful to P. We out.